Welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me tonight. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. I want to apologize, this show is getting out a bit late tonight, not quite 8 p.m., but that's because if you saw just before this, we did have an RNN news break segment with both Zane Smith and Michael Self talking about Saturday night's incidents from Salem. I want to thank them again for both coming on here. I don't think that was something either one of them wanted to talk about, but they were both gracious enough to give us a couple minutes of their time to talk about the incidents from their point of view, and we really appreciate that. But, like I said, that is causing this to get out a little bit later, so I do apologize for that. So we'll get right into things. We'll start off with the NASCAR action from Las Vegas this weekend. All three series in action. First up was the Camping World Truck Series on Friday night, running the World of Westgate 200. Grant Enfinger picks up his second career Truck Series victory to secure a spot in the round of 6 in the playoffs. Johnny Sauter came home in the second position. Justin Haley, your winner from Mosport, who was already locked in to the round of 6, came home in third. Ben Rhodes and Matt Crafton rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Myatt Snyder, Ross Chastain, Austin Terrio, Austin Wayne Self, and Chris Eggleston. All right, so we'll move on to Saturday from Las Vegas, the DC Solar 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And the feel-good story continues for Ross Chastain. He ran so well in Darlington before the incident with Kevin Harvick. Was not able to get the win in Darlington. Does pick up the win in Vegas, leading 180 of the 200 laps, winning both stages. Just an absolutely dominating performance for Ross Chastain in that 42 car. Justin Allgaier came home in the second position to clinch the regular season championship in the final race of the regular season for the Xfinity Series. Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, and Elliott Sadler rounded out your top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Ryan Preece, Brandon Jones, Ryan Truex, Austin Cindric, and Spencer Gallagher. All right, so we'll move on to Sunday now, to the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. They were also in Las Vegas for the first race of their playoffs, the South Point 400, the first time we've had a fall race at Vegas, both for the Cup Series and for the Xfinity Series, and boy, was it a game changer for the playoffs. Lots of playoff contenders getting caught up in incidents throughout the day. At the end of the day, though, Brad Keselowski comes out with his third straight victory after winning Darlington and Indianapolis. He now comes out and wins the first round of the playoffs. Fantastic stretch that Brad Keselowski is on right now. Kyle Larson came home in the second position. Martin Truex Jr., who probably had the strongest car on the day, led the most laps with 96, came home in third. Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney rounded out the top 5 to put all 3 Team Penske cars in the top 5 on the same day that Brad Keselowski brought Roger Penske his 500th career win over all series that Team Penske competes in. Rest of your top 10 were Eric Almirola, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, and Paul Menard. Alright, so that is it for the NASCAR stuff. We'll move on to the ARCA Racing Series now. They were in action Saturday night from the historic Salem Speedway in Salem, Indiana for the Kentuckiana Ford Dealers Fall Classic 200, a Darlington-style throwback race for the ARCA Racing Series. Lots of really cool throwback paint schemes in this race. Lots of legends of stock car racing also in attendance at this race. It was really cool to see some faces that you grew up seeing, watching NASCAR and racing in general, and seeing some of these people was really cool to see out there at Salem. Lots of controversy on the night, as we already talked about with that RNN news break that we put up earlier. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend going to see it because it is well worth the watch. Chandler Smith, though, came home with the victory, leading all 200 laps in this event. An absolutely dominating performance out of Chandler Smith, his second career ARCA win. He won back at Madison a few months ago. Gus Dean and his Donnie Allison throwback came home in the second position. Chase Purdy finished in third in his Mark McFarland throwback. Sheldon Creed came home in fourth in a Cale Yarborough throwback, complete with Hardee's sponsorship. That was really cool. and Travis Braden rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Harrison Burton in 6th in a Jeff Burton throwback to Jeff's first late model paint scheme. That was really cool as well. Christian Eck is 7th, Natalie Decker in 8th, Riley Herbst 9th, and Will Kimmel rounded out the top 10 in his throwback to his grandfather, Bill Kimmel Sr. So that's your results from the Fall Classic 200. That does it for our stock car stuff. If you missed any of the rewind shows and you want a more in-depth look at what happened in these races, you got to go back and look and watch the rewind shows. We have one for all 4 of those races, all 3 NASCAR races from Vegas and the ARCA race from Salem. So definitely go back and check those out if you want a more in-depth look at what happened. Race results on all of them, post-race interviews on the NASCAR ones, as well as point standings going forward. We always have an exclusive interview on the ARCA Rewind as well. It's usually a winner interview. Unfortunately, we still haven't been able to line our schedule up with Chandler Smith just yet, but we did have Zane Smith on there talking about Saturday night and his incidents. So definitely worth going back to watch if you haven't seen them yet. All right, so we'll get into the open wheel stuff from the weekend, and the first open wheel action was from Formula One. They were in Singapore. Lewis Hamilton picks up yet another victory, continuing to extend his points lead. Max Verstappen came home in 2nd. Sebastian Vettel rounded out the podium in 3rd. Rest of your top 5 were Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen. Rest of your top 10, Daniel Ricciardo in 6th, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, and Nico Hülkenberg rounded out the top 10. So that's your results from the Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix for Formula One, and our final race of the weekend. And it was the final race of the Verizon IndyCar season, as they took on the Grand Prix of Sonoma on Sunday evening. Ryan Hunter-Reay picked up the victory. Scott Dixon came home in the 2nd position to clinch his 5th IndyCar title, an amazing feat, tying him with A.J. Foyt. A fantastic feat there for Scott Dixon. Will Power came home in 2nd, Simon Pagenaud 4th. Marco Andretti rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Sebastian Bourdais, Alexander Rossi, Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, and Ed Jones rounded out the top 10. All right, so that's it for what happened this weekend. Like I said, if you want more in-depth looks at what happened in the stock car races, go back and check out the rewind shows. They will all be linked down below in the description, so you'll be able to find whichever one you want to see, or if you want to watch all 4, you can definitely do that as well. If you haven't done it already, go down below, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. We do lots of live at-the-track coverage, mostly from ARCA races. We will be at both ARCA races remaining this season, Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis on October 6th and Kansas Speedway on October 19th. So we do lots of coverage from those races. We talk to a lot of the big names in the ARCA Racing Series, chat with them, get their thoughts of what is happening throughout the weekend for them. So it's a great time. You want to make sure you're subscribed to be able to see those. And hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the pole position where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.